mark during this coming liturgical year. And so we have this feast of the baptism of Jesus. Now I suspect that all of us carry around in our minds an awful lot of different images of God and probably quite a few different understandings of what baptism is about, which may be a good thing because it gives us a resource to pull out when we need it, whether we see God in terms of being pure being itself from which all things come into existence, to sometimes just being the friend we need when we're feeling, as my grandmother used to say, wanting to go out in the garden and eat birds. Our first reading today gives us one of the initial images we always have of God, and that is of God the Creator, through whom all things come into being. How many people here have been up to the Rose Center at the Museum of Natural History? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, good. 5. It's an interactive service, you see. You get to raise your hand. I remember the first time I went in there from the outside through the low stone arch and suddenly found myself in that tremendous glass cube. And it was like entering a space that was solemn and holy. Indeed, I had a sense of holiness which I failed to find in most of our churches, but it was there. And in the center of that is hanging a model of our solar system with the sun in the middle, and it's so large compared to everything else that inside it is housed the Hayden Planetarium. And you do want to go to there if you haven't been there. Get to sit on these comfortable reclining seats and get a tour of the universe, beginning with our little tiny speck of dust here that we call Earth, and moving out as far as our telescopes have been able to see so far, what we humans arrogantly call the edge of the universe. But it goes far beyond it. If Hubble keeps working, who knows how much more we'll see. But there is a tremendous sense and then of creation, and then you go under it, and under the Hayden Planetarium, but still inside the sun, as it were, there is an exhibition which demonstrates the Big Bang theory of the universe. And when I came out of there, I had this image of God, sort of a picture that Blake might draw, or perhaps even Michelangelo's one at the Sistine Chapel. But instead of God sort of reaching out with one finger creating man, my image was of God holding all the energy of the universe in the hand, and suddenly opening the hand and letting all that energy just go out. A tremendous image of God the Creator. One of the images of God that we hold in our thinking and in our hearts and in our minds. And then, of course, there is God the lawgiver. Moses goes up on the mountain and he comes down with the 10 Commandments. And there are times when we can get very legalistic and really need to cling to that law, that sense of order which the law gives. And it gives strength and purpose to our lives. We don't cling too tightly to it. Sometimes we can overdo the legal bit. And as a people, we tend to be extremely legalistic. Or we have that image of God as the great liberator, God the one who sets us free. Moses crossing the Red Sea, leading the people of Israel out of Egypt. Isaiah talking about Judah being returned to the holy city. Isaiah talking about Judah returning to the holy city of Jerusalem, the people being liberated from their captivity in Babylonia, or Jeremiah talking about Israel coming back from conquest of Assyria, and again returning to the holy city of Jerusalem, God, the one who liberates. his people. And of course we have the prophets. The prophets who speak of justice. God is a God of justice. Amos, let justice flow down like waters and righteousness like an everlasting stream. Or Micah, love mercy, do justice, and walk humbly with your God. Or we've just come through the Christmas season, when we celebrate a different side of God, not just the great God of creation and of the law and of justice, but a God who is intimate, a God who enters our human life as a child, as a baby. And so we have the marvelous mythologies and the stories of Christmas that we honor in the West. One of the reasons I think we elevate Christmas over the feast of the baptism of Jesus is that we have tried so far to incorporate all the pagan mythologies into our Christianity, which have to do with life returning and all the things that will bring it back and the imitative magic. And so somehow or other we have become focused on Christmas rather than on the feast of the baptism of Jesus at this time of the year. But we have all those beautiful stories and mythologies and the poetry that we have been reading and celebrating that give us a picture of God which is very different, one who is intimate, one who is a friend, one who shares the fullness of our humanity, coming as a child and dying on a cross. And so all of these different images sort of float around in our heads, and we tend to pull them out as we need them. And I have an inkling the way things are going, the image of God as friend may become more and more needful as the days and weeks go on. Well, the same way with baptism. Baptism in the Christian tradition, in a sense, keeps getting repackaged as to what it means and what it is. In Judaism, there were always sacred ritual baths that were taken as an act of cleansing. Archaeologists have discovered these bathing places all around the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where people would go to be cleansed, ritually cleansed and prayer said, before they entered the temple that had been built either earlier by Solomon or later by the other kings and finally by King Herod. And so there were ritual baths, rites of purification, and John the Baptist picks up on this. One of the first examples we get of this repackaging comes in the writing in the book of Acts today, where it tells about St. Paul meeting some people from the church in Ephesus, and he asked them, well, what baptism did you have? And they said, well, we had John's baptism, which was a baptism for the repentance of sins. And this is what we come across in John, this baptism for the repentance of sins, this sort of washing away of that original sin or dirt that clings to us, that sense of sin and its washing away. And Paul says, well, you need to be baptized in Jesus, and so he rebaptizes them. Something which I suppose today our theologian would consider heresy, because you can only be baptized once. Once you're baptized, that's it. It holds. It's permanent. You don't have to be re-baptized. If somebody comes into the church and they've already been baptized, we don't re-baptize them, we receive them as ones who are already baptized. And St. Paul says it is not only a baptism for forgiveness, it is a bestowal of the Spirit. There is in Paul's teaching a sense that baptism isn't merely a washing away of something, it's a being washed up for something. It's like when we've got a party scheduled in the evening, we get washed up for it. We don't think so much of getting rid of the old dirt as we do preparing ourselves, to be presentable so when we enter the room, we won't smell or whatever. Of course, we tend, after we get all the smells cleaned off, then to spray some new ones on. But it's a part of preparation, getting ready for something. And I think it's in that sense that Jesus comes to John at the baptism of Jordan. It's his sense of getting ready, of being prepared, of making a public announcement that the ministry that he has come to bring, the message that he has come to bring, the liberation and salvation that he has come to bring is about to begin. Well, then baptism gets mixed up in all sorts of other things. It became, as Christianity went on, again, not only a forgiveness of sins, but necessary to avoid hell. Many of you who remember your history remember that Constantine, the first Christian emperor of the Roman Empire, did not himself get baptized and officially become a Christian until he was on his deathbed. He wanted the freedom to accumulate as much sin as he could as emperor before it got washed away and he had permission to get into heaven. Literally, that was Constantine's thinking and why he waited until the last minute to be baptized so that he could get into heaven. And so it became a sort of magic rite by which we gained entrance into heaven. And there was always that question, well, what if a baby dies? Calvin would have said, well, if it dies and it's not baptized and it's not among the elect, it goes to hell. What else would you expect? It's like any of the rest who are not among the elect of God. They're condemned to hell, and that's that. Baby, adult, old person, whatever. A more gentle theology of it was the baby went to limbo. That was sort of the Roman Western version of it, where, I don't know, sort of got caught in the middle, I guess, someplace between heaven and hell. Or if it had the good luck to be baptized immediately, then it went straight to heaven. I mean, we get all of these ideas sort of running around in our head about the nature of baptism. And then the 79th prayer came out, and you know something new got added to the rite? We'll be rehearsing the renewal of baptismal vows following the sermon today. But the compilers of the 79th prayer book added a section in which it sort of defines the nature of baptism, and a part of that, it says, is that we are to respect the dignity of every human being. We are to seek out justice for one another, and a new emphasis was added to baptism. Now, in our American province, the Episcopal Church started getting into trouble with the Anglican Communion, and they said, explain to us why you're allowing a gay man to be consecrated a bishop. Explain to us why.
Of course not. This is St. Mark's Church. Some of your impressions.
My impression of this church now?
This is an historical church, you know. Stuyvesant is buried here, and, Peter Stuyvesant is?
My impression is very good. Actually, I am planning to have, let's say, a place like this to promote God 3.0 software, like you call it.
We can go somewhere comfortable, but see over there is Tompkins?
Yes.
You know Tompkins Park? Yeah, that might... Yeah. Or do you want to explain God 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 just in a nutshell?
Oh, in a nutshell?
Yeah.
God 1.0 is the first God, of course. You get 1.0, even though it's not the original God 0.0, which is the real God, to which everybody belongs.
Okay, a 1.0 would be Moses, because you came late.
That's
you didn't
correct.
hear the part in the sermon where he talks about when we get too legalistic. He talked about that.
He did?
Yeah, so,
okay.
So since you're an attorney, can you explain legalistic? How that's not the
God
whole
1.0?
Yeah.
It's not a legal concept. God 1.0 is the identification of the concept of God. That is the software created first by Moses.
We always think of the
3,300 years ago.
Because he brought the laws.
That is correct. If you want to talk about the commandments that God, Mosaic Gods 1.0 gave to the people, which is the essence of the software, which is exactly the code of rule of conduct for people to follow. So the 10 Commandments is exactly the main instructions, which called the software, because software in technical terms is those people who do not have computer or who are not programmer know. Software is a bunch of instructions telling the computer to do what it should do, for example, so that it can print, it can send information on the screen, it can take in things like that. So that is the software, bunch of instructions. So it's very different from the what people used to call the spirit, because the spirit, it's nice. However, most of the time when you say something is of the spirit or spiritual, they get lost at the end. They don't know what they're talking about anymore.
Is that God's 0 point?
That's no God.
That spirit?
That I'm just talking about software is compared with the spirit. Otherwise, the first software that's called God, and I call it God 1.0, is God of Moses. Of course, that's the first version, if you say, that's of the software. Now, with the 10 Commandments, that's how you're correct. The second software, that was, of course, a new version, a modification, substantial modification or improvement of the first software. Is called God 2.0. That was suggested by Jesus, of course.
Okay, before we go to God 2.0, I just want to be really clear. God 0.0, that is everyone, is that spirit, software, or hardware?
God 0.0.
God 0.0 is software.
Now 0.0 is more special. If you want to say it this way, God 1.0 is one way to call absolute.
I see.
That would be the definitely, absolutely everything. Everything is part of that.
Including
like
spirit?
You and me, definitely.
Including spirit, including hardware and software.
Let's say you can call the universe of infinite dimensions.
Okay.
Nothing would go beyond that, by definition.
Okay, so now we're up to God 2.0, which is very appropriate because this is a Christian church.
Right. So, God 2.0 is the second version of God. Is everybody knows about 2,000 years ago, or 1,300 years after Moses created God 1.0, Jesus came along. And even though he said, I come to, not to destroy, but to fulfill, actually, he did a good service to the software by amending it so that it would be more popular, it would be more up-to-date, and that served the need of more people than the one that's called the 10 Commandments. Even though the 10 Commandments by themselves would be very much, let's say, good for most people. But then,
because you're saying people are successful who follow them.
It's a successful software to help the Hebrew slave coming from Egypt, because we can assume that those guys who come from Egypt, a slave, they don't know how to behave themselves as a free people. See? So if you, with that software of God 1.0 of Moses, literally Moses tell people, if you want to become free people, standing on your own feet, you have to know how to behave yourself and distinguish yourself from beasts, animals. So those are literally the 10 Commandments. You shall not kill. You see, lions, tigers, all those beasts, they kill indiscriminately. You as human being, you are not going to kill the other one. So that's a very good software. For example, you teach people to respect their father and mothers. That's a marvelous instruction. Of course, no father and mother would like not to have that commandments, even though, as we know now, in the modern time, they are not that much respected anymore. For example, when I come first to America, everybody know, the children start by calling the parents by first name, for example. I was shocked. Maybe right now I still don't want that. But a lot of people start to like that way. And I had one good example, but I'm not going to say who, but that person want his children to call him by first name. At the end, I see that the family, he doesn't have one, actually.
Oh, really?
It's sad, but I can see that. He doesn't even have his children with him when he's old. He doesn't even have CY with him when he's old. Right now, he's alone. And he doesn't even come to see his mother when she's alone in the OH. What does she get? He got nothing, actually. So, in a way...
Oh, I see. So to respect your elders and take care of them.
The respect of the family
cast
is
them away.
good. So that part is one good commandment that I was showing. Other commandment that's perfect or very good anyway is like thou shalt not lie,
Right.
shall treat other people righteously. However, as I said, that's not perfect. That's how coming in with Jesus. He would teach that, beside those things, like, this way
Let's go
give
in the
a
sun.
lot.
Let's go in the sun. Okay.
I give and have nothing to eat. Okay? Come to knock at the door of a Jewish person. Knock, knock, knock. The Jewish person, who's really Jewish, fine. Open the door, okay? And then the man say, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I need some help.
Yeah.
Okay? So now, the Jewish person open the door and say, okay, let's see. What do I have to do now to be perfect? Do I lack respect to my God? The man say, no, sir, I don't know you. I'm sure that you love your God and you respect your God. So the Jews say, therefore I fulfill my first, second, and third commandments. I say, yes, sir. I would not say you did not. Now, let's go to the other commandments. Do I stop by taking 2 days off instead of working 6 days a week? No, sir. I see that you're working very hard. And do I not respect the Sabbath day? The man say, I don't know that, sir, but I'm sure that you respect your Sabbath day. And the Jews say, do I respect my father and my mother? The homeless guy who is cold now, in the cold like I am right now with Gloria.
I know.
Say,
even with the sun.
I'm sure, sir, you respect your father and mother. And now they say, did I beat you up or did I try to kill you, man? Oh no, you did not, sir. For sure you did not respect. You do respect that commandments of thou shalt not kill. Now, did the Jew continue? Did I sleep with your wife, man? Oh no, sir. I don't even have a wife. I'm sure that you did not commit adultery with my wife, so I have nothing against you. And then, let's say, did I lie to you ever? No, sir. And then say, I think that, did I also now covet your wealth or your knowledge? Now, the homeless man say, and he's very cold really right now, he's very hungry.
Like us.
And he say, no, you did not do anything of the sort. I don't even have the wealth, so how could you covet, let's say, my wealth or my everything? So the Jews say, so I went all over the 10 commandments that God command me to obey. And you know what? God even tell me that I should not even do more than that, because if I do exactly that, that's what God wants. He doesn't want me to do more or less. So now, I think I had to say goodbye to you because I don't see that I owe you anything. So now, the hopeless man, because he's hopeless now, the homeless who is hopeless now, went to go to knock at the door of the Christian. Knock at the door. Knock, knock, knocked. And the Christian guy just learned the lesson from the church. He come down and he say, okay, I'm cold and I am hungry. So the Christian, come in here, man. Come in. I would feed you and I would give you clothes so that you would be warm. And then the man come right in and he was feed and he was next to the fire and he was happy. And then he say, sir, I see that. How come that you don't give me a runaround like the Jew, letting me at the door, saying that he's already perfect with his 10 commandments, but you come in here and help me, and you love me. So the Christians say, yes, I love you, of course. And why? Because you are my neighbor, and I love you like I love myself. So the hopeless man now is no more hopeless. He's very happy, and he say thank to the Christian.
So this is proof of 2.0?
This is the proof that God 2.0 software is much better, because it serves the man, and the man is liking it. And now, let me make it in a scientific manner to show that actually the 10 commandments is successful, of course. That's why you cannot say that it's no good.
Right.
Because nobody wants to get killed. Therefore, the commandment that shall not kill is perfect. It's good.
Yeah.
However, now let's see. Everybody also need help sometime. Anybody need love sometime. Everybody cannot work sometime. Everybody gets sick sometime, and they do need help from their neighbor. So if you know that, you understand that, and you can help those guys. So later on, when they are good, they help others too. So that is a better lesson that Jesus was teaching his followers. And that is a good lesson. That's why I can say that scientifically you can prove that the software conceived and marketed by Jesus, and that I call God 2.0 software, is superior than the God 1.0 software.
So
now,
let's see if we can go back in for 3.0 because I'm cold.
it comes to
Okay. I'll follow you.
Okay, you're cold.
No, let's go in here.
So now, it comes to the time when people would say that, so we get perfection again. Of course, the guy who followed Jesus one day in the gospel said, "Judge, what should I do now and to be perfect?" And Jesus said, "You have to practice the 10 commandments." That can be summed up in the love of God, and just give all your things away and follow me, and that would be perfect. And the guy even asked, "Follow you to do what?" Jesus said, "Sit next to me and you can judge the 12 tribes of Israel." And that's perfection? No. That is not perfection. Most guys who want love and forgiveness would love the God 2.0 software. And for 2,000 years, nobody come up with any software that would be superior to the God 2.0. Now it comes to a time when someone that's DMT who conceive a new software that's called God 3.0 software. That would be still better conceived, and that would be able to help people to connect together. And it's called God 3.0. And who is DMT? DMT is Dr. Mark Truong for short, or Digital Master Teacher. And that is the man that you are looking right at this time.
You want to take off your sunglasses?
What's that? With the
Take off your
sunglasses?
sunglasses?
I don't know. No, you cannot see everything of me. You see enough now. And this is different too, because we would be here for a purpose. And the best question that you should ask is, why should I be here? And really, am I God 3.0? Then the answer is yes. And the answer also on why should I be here is, I come in here to watch the level of evolution of the software or the spirits of the whole human race, and I see that it's good, but it's time to raise it to the next level of civilization. And you want to know more in details, maybe you have to take to the next show, unless because we have to also think of the person who is holding the camera right now. She's cold and she's...
No, it's a little warmer in here. Just give an overview of 3.0, God 3.0.
Oh, God 3.0 is a software that would help to connect everybody. Not any more Jews, not any more Christian. Because as you can see now, the weakness of the Christian is it did arrive at a certain point where people would have all their basic rights, and plus they are loved and taken care of, and they think it's perfect already. However, there's still a lot of irrationality in that, even in the behavior itself. And by a practicality, you can see that there are now 1 billion Christians in the world, which is a big number. However, how about the other 5 billion people? Are they all stupid? I can laugh that. They are not, actually, see? So they have their own software they are satisfied with. So now, the point is, we can raise the next software, God 3.0, to the level where we can connect not only the Christian, the Jews, but also the communist, atheist, the Buddhist, the Taoist, the everybody, in such a way that there is no more discrimination. So now, let's see what's the difference between the software that would be recommended as the behavior for those who would be called by me God 3.0 user as compared to God 1.0 user. So now you know already who is God 1.0 user?
Jews.
Yes, and God 2.0 user?
Christians.
Yes, so now we would have God 3.0 user.
How about Muslims? What are they?
Muslim, they are God 2.1 user.
2.1, I see. Okay.
Yes, because it's a little modification from the Christian's version.
And what about Buddhists?
And those guys who do not like the Muslim say bad word about them. Actually, they are pretty much like the Christian, except for the one thing. Instead of having one wife, they may have up to 4. So that's the main point.
Well, according I read the Quran, it says, if you can do justice, you can have 3, but you won't, so don't. So that's what it says. Okay. So a wise man would take heed.
So for me, that is minor things. So
right. What about Buddhists? What are they?
The Buddhist is 1.5 user.
Oh, 1.5.
Yes, because they are finally before Jesus, actually.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. And the
it's after Moses, according to the chronology.
Okay, and the irrationality in 2.0 is the miracles, right?
No.
The resurrection.
That is true. However, it's not the main point, really.
I see, okay. So you say there's a greater miracle in changing the hearts, which would be 3.0?
Those things are irrational. However, it's not harmful. So therefore, for me, it's innocent. Assuming you do silly thing, but it doesn't cause any harm to anybody. Just like you're going to laugh, like, oh, I heard about like some association, the one like people happy, like telling them just to laugh, right? You know that, right. You know about those guys.
Yeah, a master I know in the South said it's like sweets given to children.
At first it's silly, but then that's their problem. Right? That's no big
now
deal.
What about system crashing? Sometimes when people upgrade, they wish they had the old one. What about that? Do you think with 3.0 people can become arrogant? They think I am God.
Okay. No. That is a very good question. So you have to first to know what it means by being God 3.0. First, it doesn't become arrogant. It doesn't become, let's say, humble. It just becomes who you are. And I think it's pretty good. Because the point is not to be arrogant. The point is not to be humble. The point is really act in a correct way so that you can live with yourself, you're happy with yourself, and you make everybody else next to you happy. That is the main purpose.
Okay, is it hard to use the software? Because sometimes people say, well, I want good things to happen and I'm thinking positive things, but good things aren't happening. I'm not creating the reality I like, so if I'm God, how come I'm not happy with what I'm creating? What would you say to those people?
Oh, that because you may be using the software which is not the God 3.0 software.
Oh, you mean you think you're using 3.0, but you're really on 1.0, and you're guilty that you're breaking laws or something?
Or not OLO, nothings. But however, so right now, let's see what I would say by the substance of God 3.0. God 3.0 teach RPR in AR. Which is very simple. And that includes actually every virtue of the God 1.0 and God 2.0. And I will explain to you something very interesting later. So first, let's go by RPR and AR. The first R means reliability. That means we don't know what is absolute truth. Because according to real teaching of absolute relativity, there's no absolute truth. Everything is relative. But however, if you say something meaningful to other people, so that they can rely on, you have to stick to your word. Same thing as, for example, if I say I would pick you up at the airport tomorrow, I would come to church today with you, like we are here, I'm coming. That is reliability. Right. Without that, I think no connection is possible between human beings anyway.
Right.
So even reliability is even important for gangsters. At least as a group. For example, if I'm the chief of the gangster, I say, go and kill the guy. And the guy who worked for me doesn't do that. I don't have an organization. I cannot be running.
So that's the importance of truth.
That is very important. Right. So it's very close to the commandments that you cannot lie. Now, so reliability is important, and it's so important that if you do it otherwise, you may also be accused of fraud. And if it's serious fraud, you may be put in jail. So right there, you can see that our reliability is the basis of the legal system of at least America. And actually for every legal system, it's nice to have one. So what is important is rather...
falls apart,
yes,
right? Everything
yes.
falls
So
apart.
so that's the main thing. Now, the second one is also very, very simple. Productivity, meaning you work hard to produce for yourself and for others, even though it's still in relativity, in absolute relativity, meaning that sometimes you may have to destroy to build. So what? But the main idea is still you're working, right? Sometimes you don't work, meaning you work. For example, you rest. Okay, so but you understand the idea that the main thing is you do things that is helpful for yourself and others. But so mean you take drugs and do the wrong thing after when you are on drug, things like that are not productive.
Right.
So for the law in America, it's a free country. If you are not productive, you may not have anything to eat. However, they would not put you in jail for that. So that we agree on. So the third point, which is simple, also is respect.
They wouldn't put you in jail, no debtor's prison?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, forgiveness of debts?
No, that means you don't work. That means you don't have money.
Right.
You don't owe anything yet if you just don't work and you don't have money.
But how are you going to feed yourself?
Oh, so that's the question. That's why it's good to be productive. Okay. So now we go to respectability. That means you show respect for life, for property and freedom. Respect for life meaning you don't kill people, you don't beat them up, you don't violate, attack them, their physical body. That part is simple, and that's also included as the basis of the law, of the criminal law. So there's not much to argue with that point. So the second respect is the respect for property, meaning thou shalt not steal, shalt not take money, property from other people. So that part is also very clear-cut and understandable. Right. So the third one, which may be a little more difficult to understand, but it's still upfront very simple. Respect for freedom of other people. Assuming I come to church and I listen to the pastor, he preach, and he preach about God, and he say a lot of things that's nice, but some of other things may be wrong, but I still say nothing. So that is a respect for people's freedom. Or assuming I believe in certain number of things, and other people do not believe in that, but as long as they do not do really something wrong against me or other people in the immediate future,
so you respect
then I would respect that, definitely. For example, the God 3.0 software would respect all those are still stuck with the former form of software, like God 1.0 or God 2.0. We are not going to attack them. So now, what is interesting is this, as you may say. Some of the people... No, he's not the whole guy we're talking about. Now he's get fit. So let me tell you one thing which is very good here. So that is the software of God 3.0. Now people may say, so I still like love. How can you say that, for example, something like love cannot be absolute? Because I teach absolute relativity. Nothing is absolute, right? So someone say, yeah, I like love. And I say that love, forgiveness, like Jesus said, it has to be the best lesson and it has to be absolute. The answer is this. It is not absolute. Why? Because there's many ways to define love. And it's not necessarily good for everybody. For example, simple example. Do you love duck, for example? when I invite you to go to Chinatown to have dinner with me, I see that you love duck. So, you love the duck. What happened to the duck? He ended up to be your dinner. So, that's good for you to love the duck, but the duck doesn't appreciate your love too much. He would prefer you not to love it. You see what I mean now?
Okay.
And by the way, one of the biggest love of, let's say, a new pharaoh for his father is to...
A new pharaoh?
Yeah, pharaoh, for example, in the old time, or even emperor in China. You know what happened? When the emperor died, the new emperor, his son, may, let's say, make a big funeral for the emperor, and then he may also bury about 100 servants alive to make sure that his father, who is now in heaven, would have enough servants in the next life. So that shows the utmost love of the prince or the new king for the old king, who is dead now. Is that not correct? However, would you like to be those guys who are now stoned to death or buried alive, so that you would go and serve his father?
Right.
So that kind of love, for example,
Good point.
must be limited.
Good
So
point.
love is not absolute, like I want to tell you. So, for another way to put the love is not absolute, and in RPR and AR, you have everything for love is this. Assuming some guy
Can I help?
say that he loved me, okay? But then he beat me up. That means he doesn't respect my right to life, and then he steal from me, right? And he just harass me all the time. He doesn't respect my freedom.
Uh-huh.
And he say, otherwise he loved me. Would I like that guy who loved me? No, definitely not. I'm not that stupid.
Right.
But then the guy say,
With lovers like these,
right.
who
Some
needs
guy,
enemies?
yeah, some guy say, yeah, I don't love you. You do the way you like. I like to have my own business. I mind my business, and I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't love you. Assuming he say that bluntly to me. I say, all right. But then as long as the guy still respect me, he doesn't bother me, he doesn't steal from me, I say fine.
So
I
that's
prefer
respect.
that guy. See?
That's
Now I
respect.
take an example in RPR and AR in the software for God 3.0. So now, let me tell you why now it's good to show the difference between God 3.0 software and God 1.0 software. Because I talked like that to some Jewish people. Very nice guy.
Okay.
And you know what? He come up with a very good, what he think is a very good objection. He said, you tell me God 3.0 software, but what I see there is everything you say good in there, we have that. See, even when I talk to God 2.0 user, they say, somehow we have that too. You think that we are going to massacre people? We don't. I agree. Yes, that's true. You don't never say that. So you have also almost everything I'm saying there. Okay? So I say, so therefore I'm not going to become God 3.0 user. I still stay where I am God 1.0 user. Or for the Muslim, God 2.1 user. Or for the Catholic, God 2.0 user. I'm not going to convert myself into God 3.0 user. So what is my answer now?
What is it?
They are right. However, they are wrong up to a certain point. You know what? What's wrong with you guys is not that you don't have RPR and AR. Actually, you don't have too much in AR. That's the main point first.
What's AR?
That means absolute volatility.
Oh, okay.
You have to be flexible, using things in a relative manner, in good faith, and in a reasonable way. So, what's wrong with you guys is you have all that, but you have too much. The too much part is how it's wrong with you. See? For example, if you ask me as a nutritionist, what do I eat? I say, eat this, eat that, eat that. I give 5 things good for you to eat. And say, yes, but I eat all that. So, what's wrong with you? Now I say, what's wrong with you is not only you eat all that, but you eat a lot, let's say 10 times more of other things. For example, I tell you good celery to eat, okay? Now, except that each time you eat celery, like I said to you, you dip in for, let's say, 3 tons of mayonnaise. That's why it's wrong with you.
Right.
Not because you don't eat celery, but you eat a lot more than that. So now, come back to the God 1.0 user.
We have to watch our diet so we're not too...
Yes, God 1.0 or God 3.0, 2.0 user. What's wrong with them is if they stick to what I'm teaching now, right, God 3.0, then everybody can live with them, see? But if they also, beside that, they put on their dress, that's how they are fighting. It's very simple, my example. For example now, you have 20 guys educated same way, they are all athletes and they are all good football players, okay? So they're similar so far, right? So now, the difference is, one team would carry giants, for example. The other team would carry the uniform of eagle, okay? So now they are different. So because of that difference, they are going to fight, see?
Yeah.
So what makes them fight is not their common points, of course, but the diversity of what they put in more than what we just teach them. So forget and is sometimes, not all the time, is the key to the success and the key to communicate with other people.
Forget?
So, yes, forget. For example,
Forgive.
Forget and forgive. That's both meaning the same in this situation. For example, now, I get in here, I see a man, and then he's a man, and as a man we go along. Except that if I want to see that, he's a man, like me, everything else is good, except that his skin is black, my skin is white, and I don't like that. So, you see, you just introduce the difference between two.
Oh, you forget your prejudice.
Right, so you have to forget about the difference.
Right, okay.
See? And that is important. So it is exactly what I try to say now is, in God 3.0 software, you would stick to RPR and AR, and you forget about the rest.
Oh, I see.
If you don't forget about the rest, then of course, that's where you make the difference. That's how you're fighting.
Right.
So for example now, if you let the Arab or the Muslim and the Jew sit down on the table and pull out only the God 3.0 software, would the fighting be stopped?
Yeah, because they wouldn't be so fanatical, right? Is that what you said?
That would be stopped because
they're forgetting.
both of the sides just stick to RPR and AR. See? Now, why do the Muslim and the God 3.0 or God 3.1 user continue to fight? Because they don't stick only to RPR and AR, they still stick to many other point of view where they diverse.
Where they're in opposition.
Yes.
Like 2.1 says, kill the infidels. And I think 1.0 also
For
says,
example,
take care of the competition too.
And there's a lot of guys, for example, you may believe in certain teaching of the same teacher. For example, now, if you want to get back to the Christian, they are not so unified. Those are Catholic are not the same as the Protestant. So now if you go by the diversity, you'll see that within the God 2.0 software, there's a ramification, diversification among themselves. And they may also be killing each other. Because, again, they don't go by RPR and AR. But
Say again, RP and A. What's that?
RPR and AR. Reliability, productivity, respectability of life, property, and freedom in absolute relativity. That's 6 keywords of God 3.0 software, and if you want to stick with that,
say
everything
slowly again.
would be fine.
Say again, R.
R for reliability. P productivity. R respectability.
Respect.
Of people's life, property, and freedom.
Okay, RPR, and then what else?
In AR, in absolute relativity.
RPR in AR, in absolute.
And in absolute relativity, that means that you have to understand and use RPR now in wisdom. You cannot be too, let's say, absolutist. And I take you an example. For example, again, I say, I'm going to take you to the airport tomorrow, or I would pick you up there. So tomorrow, I'm going to do that. That's one thing. But assuming my daughter break her leg, what would I do? I would take my time. I would take her to the hospital, take care of her, and I may send somebody else to pick you up at the airport. That's good already. I cannot just stupid enough just say, I have to go to the airport anyway, and let my daughter die. Bleeding. That doesn't make any sense. So that means there is a relativity.
So
nothing is absolute.
So do you have a last sound bite?
What's that?
A last sound bite, something very simple to synopsize, encapsulate?
Yes, it's RPR and AR, that's it.
RPR and AR? Okay, so we'll hear from you again.
So that is the formula that everybody should go by, and I would love to see anybody who can say that they are not the best rule for the guidance of life in this universe, which is actually very complicated, because if you go by absolute relativity as a basic rule, not only for the matter, but also for the spirits, it is very complicated. And that's why I have to devise a compass for people to guide their life as God 3.0 users. Or if they are good enough, they would be part with God 3.0 himself. That means they would become God 3.0 partner. So, goodbye.
But one last thing, I'm just thinking. With God 3.0, what would you do right now in Gaza? Right now there's a protest going on in another part of Manhattan, and some people are even saying that Hamas is a feature of Israel, or whoever it is. You know, it's hard to say when you say who's Israel, who's the American, who's this or that. But this situation of not being too rigid about an interpretation. How would God 3.0 work in a country like the Middle East right now, Palestine, Israel, that's known for both 1.0, 2.0, 2.1, maybe not the Buddhist 1.5, but all of these other softwares they're crashing, basically.
Actually, it's a great question. I'm very happy that you asked that, because otherwise by myself I would have given that answer on the internet. And I'm going to say it right now, and those who are listening would know the exact position of Ph.D. God 3.0 on what is going on in the Middle East right now. It is very, very important to know that Israel right now is committing genocide, murders, because actually, as a lawyer now, I can tell you murder is the killing of a person, even when you, let's say, do things without saying that you would go to kill that, literally that person. But as long as you put that person in danger, knowing that what you're doing would kill that person, it is murder by itself, or at least reckless endangerment. So right now, I meant this. Israel is trying, allegedly, killing or terminating the lives of those who are supposed to be attacker on Israel. That part may be true, and I would tell you as international lawyer how to resolve that problem by going to the next level of civilization very shortly and very simply. However, when you want to bombard an area where you know that there's millions of civilians, and you are for sure knowing that hundreds and hundreds of civilians people would die, that is murder, and that is genocide. You cannot say that, hey, I'm going to go after, let's say, a few murderers, and therefore now I have to shoot. So if that's the way the New York City cops are doing in the streets to catch up, let's say, a few criminals, and they just shoot indiscriminately at the, of course, direction of the murderer, but they know that there's about 100 other people in the crowd, and those guys would be dead. Those police officers would be arrested for murder. So what Israel right now is doing is exactly the same thing. So only thing you can say is, do Israel have that right to do that for self-defense because those guys fire rockets on Israel? Okay.
But just a second. Clearly, Hamas is teaching children how to kill.
I'm not talking about Hamas right now. I'm talking about
But Hamas
Israel.
is the excuse.
No, I'm just talking about, I did not say that Hamas is doing things correctly. So right now I'm just saying that how the police officer would hunt down the criminal. They cannot hunt down the criminal by shooting at the criminal when the criminal is among 100 other people, and for sure other people would know. Another analogy, and that I want also to attract the attention of the media, of the whole world on this, which is very dangerous, because the practice of, let's say, killing a few hundred people so that the Arabs or the Muslims who are attacking Israel would be scared is the same tactic as the Nazi, who would be killing, say, you kill one of us, I'm going to kill 100 of you. And that's exactly what happened with the Nazi and all the bad guys.
So what happens with God 3.0? We only have 3 minutes left.
What happened with the God 3.0 things?
To address this.
Okay, to address this,
with
then actually Israel also should not suffer, let's say, casualty by being fired with rockets from those guys who are, in a way, criminals, and they have no right to do that. That part, I agree. And the best solution is to get the Security Council, or to get a new world structure, according to the Constitution, devised by DMT God 3.0 since 1975, and we would have a world government, and that would have police force, and would send that police force to Gaza Strip and screen out and get all those guys who fire rockets indiscriminately to kill the Israeli in their country arrested and take them also to court. So just the same way as anybody else. But
the UN couldn't do it, so why could your world thing do it?
Because that would become a world government, and that is the world structure, and I would be planning to run for the world president when it is selected. And if you want to know more, let's say, about it, just go on my website or go rather to YouTube of Paula Gloria.
So you don't think that's a little arrogant?
What is arrogant about what?
When you say I am God, because I always thought 3.0 meant everybody's God. So the world government would just naturally come about when people are understanding each other better, don't you?
I like the word arrogant. I don't know where do you apply for. Am I arrogant, or who is arrogant? I don't understand. Ask your question again.
Some people are very mistrustful of a world government because they think it can be very abusive, because the United States right now has suffered a lot from people not liking it, even within its own people. There's a lot of confusion, there's disinformation, and the government is becoming very weak, actually. And the feeling is that those are going to make a world government even tear down the United States, and that they have.
So if you want really to talk about the world structure, I call the world unfolding structure of civilization, is written in one of my books. And
even tear down the United States, and that they have not good intentions.
Okay, so if you want really to talk about the world structure, I call the world unfolding structure of civilization, is written in one of my books, and that is a book for really specialists in law to read, especially international law. And I would love to talk about it in details. However, it would not take 3 minutes. It would take a few hours, at least.
That's true. Okay, so...
Otherwise, I can give you an answer quick, is we need the world government in the sense that we need a structure with a network, with a software that I'm creating right now. So right now, that structure, based on RPR and AR and with capable